If I own stock in something and I do a good job and the stock market goes up, I guess I'm profiting. But who really profits is somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who uses inside information. She worked for $175,000 a year, and that's at the high end, and she's worth $150, $200 million. Okay? You ought to look at Nancy Pelosi, and you ought to look at some of these politicians that are stone cold crooks. I was very wealthy when I came in. Being president, I probably cost me money if you really look. If I own stock in something and I do.
Great to have you with us. Please like, subscribe, and share. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining me here at the Chris Highland Show. Really appreciate you rolling up. Gotta cover some of the bombshell things that happened over the weekend. Trump appearing on Meet the Depressed with Kristen Welker and just destroyed this hapless propaganda talking head. It was funny. As he fact-checked her live right in the middle of the show, he taking none of her ridiculous nonsense, called her out for exactly who she and the rest of the lamestream Communist Party media is. It's just absolutely amazing. So we're going to dive into that. So really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks for being here. We're going to dive right in. So let's dive into Donald Trump appearing on Meet the Depressed with Kristen Welker. We're going to get into a couple clips here, but he just absolutely destroyed her. Let's check out the next one. She tries to get him on tariffs, increasing prices, and how dare you do that? You were brought into lower prices, but check how he deftly manipulates this conversation. It's absolutely awesome. Here we go.
So small businesses say they are being hurt by the Chinese tariffs, and some could be forced to shut down.
And many businesses are being helped.
Are you considering tariff relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the union, the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what Trump's done for the automobile, I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say, the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happened. He said, we've been waiting 40 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car industry instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers?
Well, I'm just asking you about small businesses. Are there any discussions about giving any relief to small businesses?
They're not going to need it.
Okay.
They're going to make so much money.
Are these tariffs?
If you build your product here. Remember, there are no tariffs if you build product here. It's very easy. Very simple.
So absolutely right. So Trump is in the process of reorganizing, realigning global trade. And he's doing it because we've been getting ripped off for a long time. And part of getting ripped off that has been happening is the fact that we are the largest consumer market. We're the consumer market, not others. So, in that respect, we own the gold. We make the rules. The old adage, he who owns the gold makes the rules. Well, this is what being the largest consumer market on the planet gets you. Now, it would be different if, as the largest consumer market, we were, 13% of the global consumption, and there was a bunch of people at 12 and a bunch of people at 11. No. We are 39% of global consumption. We are so much bigger than anybody else. We are the elephant in the room compared to a bunch of mice and the occasional small dog. That's how big of a difference it is. And that's why we can do this. And Trump is saying we have to do it now while we still have the clout and the leverage to do it. We have to realign global trade. So it's at worst, it becomes free. It becomes equal one way or the other. At best, it's going to be free, but you're going to pay a fee to enter the United States market, unless you can pay that fee one of two ways. You can pay a 10% tariff, which the entire world will pay to access our consumers, or you can make your product here in the United States. Now, Kristen Welker asked a question. Well, what about these small businesses that are hurting? Hey, I know a lot of people who sell on Amazon. My wife has sold on Amazon. And yes, that is a serious problem because most of the products that were procured, for Amazon from independent sellers were procured from China because it was the lowest cost supplier. Well, these small businesses are going to be hurting, but they're only going to be hurting for a while because, again, it goes back to the book, if anybody's read it, Who Moved My Cheese? And people will simply adapt to the new rules. If the new rules are China is not the least expensive supplier, they will go and find the least expensive supplier. And this is actually going to help small business in the long run. There will be some pain in the short run, especially for people who bought product, priced product, did all the research for a specific product, brought it in from China, but now they ordered it, but they didn't receive it before the tariffs hit. So now all of a sudden the prices have changed, and there could be some serious pain for that. But what will be helped 6 months or 9 months from now is that those same small businesses will not now be competing with their Chinese manufacturers on the same platform. Because what happens to Amazon sellers is they go to China and they say, hey, they do all the research, they get an idea, they design it, they tweak it, they differentiate it. They go to China, they say, can you make this? They say, yes, here we go, here's some pricing. They work on it, they get it done, they get it, they start selling on Amazon. Immediately, that same or a related supplier will take the exact same product, simply, they don't have to duplicate it. They're making it. They simply post it on Amazon at a 30% discount. And this is what small businesses are encountering now. They're competing with Chinese unfair trade practices, even in our own country. And so this has to end. So Trump is absolutely right. Regardless of what tariffs are doing for major industries, which will drive major employment, which will drive all sorts of economic activity in the United States. Imagine a factory. Let's just take the Taiwan semiconductor factory coming in Arizona. They say it's going to employ 20,000 people. Even if those are mid-level paying jobs, they're paying $40,000, $50,000 a year, which is not a huge amount of money. There's going to be a lot of those 20,000 that are paying 60, 70, 80, 90, or even more. But you put a group of 20,000 people that are making $50,000, $60,000 a year. What do they need? They need to buy groceries. They need to buy cars. They need to get those cars serviced. They need to buy tires. They need to buy strollers. They need to buy stuff for their kids. They need to get their hair done. They want to go to movies. All of the stuff that they do with a portion of that $50,000 or $60,000 or $70,000 drives 10x the economic activity of just them getting paid, because all of that now funnels businesses. It fuels jobs. It fuels more income. It creates an entire ecosystem infrastructure. Now imagine doing that in all 50 states, maybe not to that extent because Taiwan Semiconductor is going to be huge, but imagine that in the South with car plants, in the North with car plants, with steel plants, with pharmaceutical plants, with all of the economic activity coming back. He's absolutely right. And he's owning Welker on this. It's amazing. Trump keeps going. And he just destroys Welker because, again, the propaganda, talking head media is so biased that even if they ask what on its face, if you read a transcript, might be a fair question, the reason, the way they frame it, the way their body language is, the way their tone is, everything is negative in their eyes. Check this out.
You're so fake. Including, I like the way you ask questions. Every question is asked in a negative vein. There's a toy company that took a toddler's, whatever, but you don't talk about the fact that gasoline is down at numbers that nobody believes possible. You know why they're down, by the way? Drill, baby, drill. We're drilling like crazy right now.
We try to make sure every question is fair, Mr. President.
Look, every question you ask says a very negative.
No.
I'm fine responding to you. I don't think you're very difficult at all to respond to be honest with you. But you know what? You should ask some positive things like, sir, it's amazing what you've done with gasoline. Because you know what? Gasoline's big business. A stroller is not big business. The media is so fake, including, I like even the way you ask questions. Every question is asked in a negative vein. There's a toy company that took a toddler.
Again, he's talking about this idea that you've got to look at the bigger business. Now, I want to get from that into the other price discussion, which I thought this was a clip I was check out this, because he gets into the other side of the price discussion where he absolutely fact checks her right on TV, and she doesn't have anything to say. This is absolutely glorious. Check this out.
Some
This is such a dishonest interview already. Prices are down on groceries. Prices are down for oil. Prices are down for all energy. Prices are down at tremendous numbers for gasoline. And let me tell you, when you have the big thing, what he did, he spent like a stupid person, which he was, but he spent like a very stupid person. And that was bad for inflation. But what really killed us with inflation was the energy.
He's absolutely right. Prices are coming down. This false narrative that prices are going up, the only place, because of his tariffs, the only place that prices are really going up are in basically imported cheap items. Yes, are dolls going to cost more? Sure. Are toys going to cost more? Maybe. If they're not made in America, yeah, there's going to be an initial price increase until suppliers that are buying that stuff from China can reorient it to India or Vietnam or somewhere else, or made in America, at which point you might have a lasting, price increase. But a lot of people would much rather pay a little bit more for an item and have it manufactured in the United States and drive American jobs and American economic activity, because that fuels the entire economy. He's absolutely right. And prices everywhere else are coming down. Energy is coming down. Mortgage rates are coming down. Food is coming down. Eggs are coming down. All of the other underlying costs to economic activity, to the prices we pay for everything else, the price of energy to make products, the price of energy for logistics, the price of real estate, everything else is trending already down. The CPI is down, inflation is down. He is 100% doing what he promised to do. He never said that prices would go down overnight. You can't do that. It's a $30 trillion economy. It takes a while to turn the ship. Hey, Gene Nunez Torin, really appreciate you rolling up today from sunny Orlando. And Capo in the house, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. All right, we got a couple more clips from Meet the Depressed. One of them was on the entire immigration situation. We got two of them possibly. So let me get into the whole, let's start the immigration, because she did go there, which is Trump's most popular from his approval polls, his most popular policy position. Let's check that out.
A million or two. If you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. But some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
100%. The American people overwhelmingly favor getting rid of criminal illegal aliens. And the American people, by majority, favor getting rid of every single illegal alien, whether they are here, whether they're the nicest person in the world. If they are here illegally, 56% of Americans say, get them the heck out of the country. And when it comes to criminal illegal aliens, that number is in the 80s. Depending on the poll you look at, in the 70s, in the 80s, even in some cases, depending on the poll, in the low 90s. Americans want the criminal illegal aliens out. Now, there's a little bit longer clip on this immigration debate. Let's check it out.
So let's talk about this, because obviously you've had a back and forth with the Supreme Court. In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court directed your administration to facilitate the return. You've talked about this in the past, of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, from a prison in El Salvador, whose deportation your administration called an administrative error.
No, let's be, yes, they said that the Trump administration should facilitate his return, essentially so we can have a virtual hearing and be immediately deported back. But this idea that it was a mistake to deport him, that was a Biden holdover in the Department of Justice, who essentially has been fired, has been sequestered. So no, it was not a mistake. Based on talking to Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi, they have both said that once Trump designated MS-13 a terrorist organization, withholding deportation orders no longer apply. But again, that is the purview probably of an appellate level court. But let's keep going.
You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court, sir?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job, because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality of lawyers to do that. And that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one. And they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
Well, you say you have the power to bring him back, though. Your attorney general says, quote, that's up to El Salvador. Just to put a fine point on this, do you have the power to bring Abrego Garcia back as the Supreme Court?
Well, I have the power to ask for him to come back if I'm instructed by the attorney general that it's legal to do so.
Absolutely. He has the power to ask the El Salvadoran government to send us one of their citizens. This is why the Democrats have now been trying to distance themselves. I'm surprised she brought it up. I'm surprised she didn't just go into a due process question in general and leave it nebulous. No, she went directly to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, which was a really dumb move on her part. Why? Because everybody knows a couple of things. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an El Salvadoran citizen. Everybody knows he is here illegally. Everybody now, you've got two schools of thought. Was he a member of MS-13 or not? But it doesn't matter that he is. It doesn't change the fact he's here illegally. Now he is in El Salvador, his home country. So President Trump is supposed to call El Salvador and demand that an El Salvadorian national, an El Salvadorian citizen, be immediately shipped to the United States. There is nothing legal in that. Next, you have the other side of the argument. There were two adjudicated immigration hearings that resulted in deportation orders. Stephen Miller has made it abundantly clear that when you have a deportation order from a court, that is a must comply. It is not a, hey, if you want to deport this guy, you can. No. A deportation order from a court says you must deport this person. So now you've got an issue where, wait a minute, why would we ask for the return of somebody who by law, by court order, was mandated to be deported to another country, back to their home country? Now, so that's why Trump is saying, hey, there's a whole lot of facets to this that you're not getting. And you focusing on one stupid part of it is helping your cause, and it's not right. He cannot demand that El Salvador get rid of an El Salvadoran citizen. Now, it's one thing if they were extraditing him, if we had an extradition treaty and we wanted to try him in U.S. court for a crime on U.S. soil. But we don't. We want to let him languish in El Salvadoran prison. We just don't want him. And even if we don't care if El Salvador releases him into the greater public. We just don't want him here. But what the president of El Salvador has said is there's no way in heck he's going to get him out of prison because he is a gang-banging terrorist. So regardless, you've got Trump just destroying Welker over and over and over again on Meet the Depressed. So thanks so much for being here. Everybody could please smash that like button for me. Hit that thumbs up. Like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like the content, please share a Chris Highland Show with everybody that you know.